Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. I have 5 coastal ghost projects for you today. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, the bell to be notified when I post, and a thumbs up is very much appreciated. Okay, coastal ghosts. Check out this cute little ghost that I got at the Dollar Tree. He's cute, but he's covered in this glittery, tinsel-y stuff. So I'm just going to snip right up the middle with my scissors and then just take all of this like Christmas tinsel-y stuff off. And we are going to have a fantastic little cage to make a little coastal ghost today. And I love these cages that are underneath these things. The tinsel, not so much. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the hanger off. I'm also going to use some heavy-duty scissors and just snip off the little ghost arms. Are they arms? Wings? We're going to go with arms. And then I decided that I am going to wrap this thing in nautical rope. But first, I want to go in and cut all the little nubby tabs off the cage and on the little ghost arms because those might interfere with the rope. And we are going to wrap this ghost in that nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And I think that will be super cute. It's going to give me a nice coastal vibe. It's white like a ghost, so win-win. I'm just going to start my rope just by attaching with a little bit of hot glue on the back of my cage and then simply wrap. Now this is why I cut off the ghost arms, is because the main part of this body is pretty easy. I can just wrap around and around. But when I got to the ghost arms part, it was going to cause problems with the wrapping. So I thought it would be easier to attach those after I got the main body of the little ghost wrapped. So that's how far one package goes. This is not the super thick one, maybe the medium size thickness of the one that they have at the Dollar Tree. They're always getting me on the brown ones too. There's so many different thicknesses of the ropes, and I think I'll have the same ones and then I don't. But just make sure you have the same width when you grab several packages of this to make this project. And that's how far my second package goes. I'm just going to glue always on the back so that you can't see it when I start a new rope. And we're almost done with the body of this little coastal ghost. Once you get down here to the end and you kind of got, you know, the slope and stuff like that, you do have to start using a little bit of hot glue on the cage just to make sure everything stays tight. And especially when you get here to the end and you're about done with your rope, I'm just going to keep going until you can't see any of the plastic cage or the opening. And snip off that extra rope and then just attach that down with some hot glue. Now it's time to reattach my little ghost arms, and I'm just hot gluing the little plastic to the plastic that was in there. It's not super stable, but I do something here in a minute that's going to help the stability of the project. And this turned out so cute. My son really loves it. He wants to play with it. So we got both of our little ghost arms put on, and now I just need to wrap them. So I'm just going to start with some hot glue on the back, and then I'm just going to wrap these in this direction just because it is the easiest way to wrap those. Now when you get towards the end, you've got all kinds of different angles and slopes, so you'll have to use a little bit of hot glue on the cage as you go to get everything to stay put. And then just keep going until you can't see the little cage anymore. And you'll be ready to snip off the rope on this side. And we can start working on the other little ghost arm. This project, it was really easy actually. The way that I took it apart and put it back together, I think made this project a little easier. To make that a little bit more stable, I just put an extra piece of rope in there. And then I decided to start the next one like that with the full rope glued to it. And I found that that technique worked a little bit better than on the other side, how I started it. So we're just going to wrap this second arm, and our ghost is almost completely covered in rope. He kind of looks like a mummy, a little coastal, but I love the way he turned out, and he's fairly large. So I'm just going to snip that off and hot glue this down. Now, this is what I'm using to make it more stable. I'm using a ruler that I got for $1 at Target, and I did have to trim it with my saw a little bit. And I do go ahead and attach twine to make a hanger. This didn't really hang it too well. I do have to end up modifying that. But the point of the ruler is to glue this along the back and to make it more sturdy and make sure that the little ghost arms don't fall off, and it worked really great for that project. Now I went through my seashell stash, and I thought seashells would make the perfect little ghost eyes and mouth. So I kind of got two that were kind of the same size for the eyes and a bigger one for the mouth, and I'm just painting those with chalk paint by Waverly in the color of ink. And they really do kind of look like eyes and a mouth. I love how that turned out. And you know, I have a huge shell stash, so whenever I can use any shells, it's always a win-win. And it gives that extra little bit of coastal vibe to our little coastal ghost. And I just go ahead and glue all 3 of those down with a little bit of hot glue. I think I did lose a little bit of footage, but basically I do the same thing on the other 2. I usually record all of my videos with my camera on my phone, and I've been having trouble lately. I can't really see it when I'm filming, and it makes me film it in slow-mo, and so yeah, frustrating, because then I have to fix it. So this is me fixing the hanger. I didn't like the way it was hanging against the wall, so I'm just using a wooden domino, and actually I like the hanger attached to the head way better. That way the head hangs flat with the wall and doesn't kind of stick out from the wall when I hang it. And here is another little ghost DIY today. I got that little tinsel ghost at the Dollar Tree, and I want to cover it with this cheesecloth stuff. I think they call it creepy cloth. It comes in this ivory color, and it also comes in black at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to leave the tinsel on there, but I don't want it to show through that see-through cheesecloth. So I'm just going to use a couple scrap pieces of felt that I had laying around, and I'm just going to kind of make a hat for him, for his head and his arms, just so when the fabric lays on there, you won't be able to see that little tinsel stuff come through. I don't really want to take the tinsel off because I don't want to leave a plastic cage on this, because I think you'd be able to see that through the cheesecloth. So just attaching those 2 pieces of felt together with a little bit of hot glue and just kind of making a little hat for this guy, just to go over the top and the arms. And he's a really cute size little ghost, and I do apologize for the flashing lights. This film was filmed in slow-mo on my phone, and I even downloaded an app to try to deflicker this, and it did not work. So I am covering that with cheesecloth, kind of seeing how many layers I needed. I folded it in half, and then I folded it in half again. So that was 4 layers, and I thought that looked pretty good. So I'm kind of trimming that off. Kind of leaves me with like a blobby mess, but I'm kind of shaping it and trimming it as I go. And this slow-mo thing, and the fact that I need my phone for my real job, I was so frustrated that I actually went out and bought myself a real camera. So I do film some videos with my new camera. I don't really have the rig and stuff yet to set it up properly, but I was like a kid with a new toy and I couldn't resist. So to give it more shape, I'm just cutting up underneath the arms and just gluing that to the back and then wrapping the other piece around to the front, just to try to give him a little bit more shape and make him not quite so blobby. I noticed you could kind of see the tinsel through the front there, like on the tummy area of the ghost. So I just take some of my scrap cheesecloth and just kind of stuff that in there and cover that up, because I don't want any of that white shiny stuff showing through. So I just kind of cut and glue until I'm happy with them. I kind of want his arms to be like droopy, hanging down, kind of messy and creepy looking. And I think that looks pretty cool. And so our little ghost needs eyes. I'm going to use 2 of these little round stickers from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to paint them in that ink chalk paint by Waverly. And we have 2 little eyes. I use some black felt because I kind of want an oval for the mouth. And so I'm just going to cut a little oval out of this felt. You can use whatever you have. I don't think you could probably paint on the cheesecloth that well. I don't know though, maybe you could. So I cut out a little oval and I'm drawing my eyes, and I'm just going to hot glue those little stickers on to give us 2 eyes. They're the perfect size for a little ghost. And then I noticed that the felt black was a little bit different color of black than the color that I painted the eyes. So I'm just being extra, and I do take that felt mouth off, and I do paint that with a little bit of chalk paint so that my black colors match. And just trying to dry that real quick, and then I'm just going to hot glue the mouth onto our little ghost. And he's starting to come together. I thought he needed a final touch, so I thought he needed something a little bit more coastal. So I thought I would outline him with some of this brown rope from the Dollar Tree and kind of go over his arms and the top of his head, kind of giving him an outline and just attaching that rope down to the cage with hot glue, and that kind of gave it a little bit more shape there along the top. I'm not going to do the like underneath of his arms where it's flowing. I kind of like that effect. So I'm kind of just doing this down the side of his arm and on his head. And I want him to look, you know, kind of messy with that cheesecloth, but I also kind of want the shape of a ghost is kind of what I'm going for with the outlining with the rope. And then I want to do his sides, so I'm kind of going where like the underarm area would be, and then just doing a strip of rope right down the side that will be visible from the front and kind of give him more of that outline, and just attaching that to the side of our little ghost with some hot glue. And I do glue that down like underneath on the plastic cage just to give it a little bit more stability. Yes, and I'm very excited about my new camera. I think it's going to make filming for YouTube way easier. I go ahead and do the same thing here on the other side. That way I can still use my phone for editing and stuff like that, but then I won't be tied up with my phone for my other job, and I can kind of film between jobs. So that's going to work well. I'm also going to go ahead and outline the bottom just to kind of finish that off a little bit more. Basically, I go around and outline all of his edges with the rope, and it kind of frames him out, except for like where his hands would be, if a ghost had hands. And just gluing that on. And that is the final step in this little coastal ghost. I think he turned out kind of cute. What do you think? Boo, he looks creepy with that blinking lights. Okay, up next I got this cute little ghost at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using heat and a scraper to take off that little boo. And we are left with this cute little ghost shape. He's already kind of white, which I kind of want him to be, but he's covered in glitter eyes and glitter cheeks. So I just sand that off with my sanding block. And I'm trying to get that adhesive off as well that was holding that little boo on there to give me a clean surface to work with, because I want to make this little coastal ghost project a sand ghost. So I'm going to try to cover it with sand. So the first step, I go in with some ivory chalk paint and just paint over those areas with the glitter and the paint before, just to go ahead and make those whiter. Then I'm going to go over the whole thing with some ivory chalk paint, because I'm going to be using that white sand from the Dollar Tree, and I think you'll be able to see through the sand if it's all not the same color. So I'm going to put a thing down to try to make this not as messy, and I'm just going to go over the whole surface of our little ghost with just some school glue and start sprinkling on that white sand. They also have this in brown, but since ghosts are usually white, I wanted to do a white sand for this little ghost. I did find this was probably the most challenging sand project I did because it's a hanging ghost. And so I had to try to make sure that the sand does not fall off the ghost. So once I get that on there, I just shook off the excess sand, and now I'm using that spray multi-purpose glue from the Dollar Tree and going over with more of that sand, kind of patting it down as I go and shaking off the excess again. And just do as many layers as you need to do until you are happy with your coverage. I can only use the school glue for the first coat. After that, I have to use the spray glue. Otherwise, you end up with a mess on your hands. So I think he's pretty good and covered. And it looks like I wanted a little bit more. This is why putting the tray down didn't work for me messy-wise, because I continued to add sand and made a mess. Okay. So I wanted him to hold a little sign. So I'm using one of these little wood signs. They come in like 4 or 5 to a pack at the Dollar Tree that says boo really big. Thought it was super cute, just painting that turquoise with acrylic paint from Target. And I'm going to go ahead and make a hanger with the existing hole that was in the ghost. And I'm just going to use twine to tie off a simple rope hanger to the top, trying not to knock off all my sand that I worked so hard on in the process. So just a simple hanger like that. And then I loved how the shells worked for the other ghost. So I'm going to use shells for the eyes and the mouth again. This one I'm going to use these like long rectangular, like oval shaped shells for the eyes. And the only problem I had here was getting them to stick to that sand. They kind of wanted to pop back off. I had to keep trying, kind of digging out a hole almost, so that I could hot glue the shells to the actual wood to get them to stick. And so I kind of had to go deep and hot glue those. Maybe I should have attached those before I sanded the ghost, maybe. And I kind of had the same problem here on the mouth. But after I tried several attempts on these, I got them both to stick pretty well. But then I didn't really think that my boo sign that I was planning for the front of it was going to stick. And so I do come up with a different plan for that. And here's me really going deep, trying to get that mouth attached. And I'm just going to leave those a natural color. I think that looks really pretty with the browns. They're kind of the same color. And I'm like, how am I going to attach this boo? Well, I decided just to use some more twine and just kind of make a hanging sign that the ghost can hold by his little ghost arms. So I'm just attaching some twine to both sides of the boo. And then I'm just going to glue those onto the back of his arms. So it looks like he is holding that little boo sign. And then I don't have to worry about gluing that onto the sand. So just a little bit of glue on the back of his arms. And gluing that twine to him. And we have our third coastal ghost project. What do you think? I think he turned out really fun. Even though the sand was very messy, but I think he was worth it. What do you think? Boo! Okay, my next project. I saw this white rug at Dollar Tree today, and I thought, I can make this white rug scrap into a ghost rug. And then I was like, I don't know if I can really pull this off. And then I'm like, well, you know what? Let's try it. So I just flipped over the white rug, and I'm kind of using a little ghost I have there from the Dollar Tree, kind of as inspiration of what a ghost shape would be like. And I am just freehanding a little ghost on the back of my rug with just a Sharpie. I kind of want him to have like a flowy tail, kind of like this one. And I want to use most of the rug that I can. I just want to make a cute little Halloween rug. I think I can probably use this in my son's bathroom. I think it'll be really fun. And then I'm just going in there with a razor blade from the Dollar Tree and cutting that. I wasn't sure it was cutting all the way through, but I found that it was maybe I just didn't push hard enough. So sometimes I had to go over these areas twice, and I'm just cutting out where I cut out the little Sharpie. Now, I really didn't know if I could pull this project off, but I absolutely love how it turned out, and I can't believe that I made my own rug. I always see these little rug scraps at the Dollar Tree, and I've used them in my garage and stuff before, my crafting area, but I've never thought to make something with it until now. When I saw that white rug, I thought, ghost, I can make a ghost out of that. And here I go. So I took my silicone mat up because I was afraid I was going to cut it with all of this razor blade. And so make sure you have a cutting mat under you or wood that you don't care if you cut. Because you kind of have to push down pretty hard with the razor blade to get your shape. I get him all cut out, and I kind of realized that one of the arms was a little bit bigger than the other arm. They weren't super symmetrical, and so I do kind of adjust the size on those. But first I'm just cleaning up all of the fuzz and stuff that was stuck to the ghost and just trying to clean up all of the edges. Some of the loose strings just pull right out. Sometimes I had to snip it with scissors, just trying to clean it up a little bit to make it look a little bit more like the ghost cutout that I was going for. And I decided I want a little bump on his tail, so I cut out a little bump on his tail. And here's where I was like, okay, this arm is way too big. So I just draw a smaller arm on this side and cut that out. And he's a little bit more symmetrical. This arm's still bigger, but that's okay. And we have our ghost shape. Now, Julie, what are you going to do to make it coastal? I'm going to wrap it in rope. So here we are. I'm using, this is the thickest brown rope that I could find. And I'm going to wrap that around. But while I'm waiting for my heat gun to heat up, my hot glue gun to heat up, I'm going to go ahead and paint some eyes and a mouth. Just using some of this hazelnut chalk paint by Waverly and some of these little stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree. I got the big one and the medium one, and I think they gave me the perfect circles. I was trying to think, how can I paint perfect circles on here? And those work perfect. Okay, it is time to start attaching this rope. So I'm giving it a rope border all the way around, just attaching with hot glue, working one section at a time. And this cleaned up, my rough edges from cutting it, and it gave my rug like a finished feel. It doesn't look like just a rug that's been cut out with a pair of scissors. It looks like a real rug that you would have bought at a store. And I spent $1 for the rug and $1 for the rope, because one thing of rope goes all the way around. And for $2, I made my own Halloween rug. I mean, you can't get much better than that. So I get it all together, and I had the rope meet at the tail. And then I'm just going over with my heat gun to melt any hot glue that was visible on the surface of my rope. Doesn't he look cute? Then I go in and do another coat of paint on his eyes and his mouth to make sure they have even coating. Just sponging that on with the medium and the large size little stencil daubers. I'm so glad I thought to use those. They made perfect circles on there. And chalk paint on fabric works really well, so I think it'll work well on the rug. Okay, this is our last coastal DIY ghost project today. I'm using this happy haunting sign with the ghost on it that I got at the Dollar Tree. That's covered in glitter, so I'm just going to cut out some of this cheap contact paper. I'm not going to even bother trying to do that fancy shape. I'm just going to cover the main part of the back, and just to cover up that glitter, just cleans it up a little bit, and we can work on the back of our sign. And I want to use that existing ghost that was on there, but I want it to be a nice beachy sign, so I'm going in there with that turquoise color and acrylic that we used for the boo on that other ghost. So just going over the back of the sign, and I go over with a couple coats of the acrylic paint to give me this pretty turquoise blue color. I love this color. And this is just like the 99-cent acrylic paint that you can get at Target. I really kind of wanted it to be this pretty turquoise blue, and so I did not use agave for once. Once I get that painted on there, I am using my heat gun. And on the rug project and on this project, I'm using my new camera. So you'll have to let me know how it did. It's a super fancy camera, and I have no idea how to use it. And I don't even have the thing to hold it yet, so I just kind of had to prop it up. But I really wanted to use it because I was so mad at my phone. So here is the ghost that was on there before, and I'm just using heat to try to get that glue off the back because I want to use the back of this as well as our little ghost. That way I don't have to deal with any of the glitter on there. And I'm just going to paint this little ghost, this ivory color in Chalk Paint by Waverly. And it's a really fun shape for a little ghost. For this sign, I really like the structure of the ghost. And that's one reason why I picked up this sign, even though it was covered in glitter. And a second coat of ivory brightens that right up. And I am just giving that a dry with my heat gun, and I'm just going in and distressing my little ghost with some Antique Wax by Waverly and following that up with a baby wipe until I get a nice distress on my little ghost. And the only problem I had with my new camera is it stops recording after 30 minutes. And I had that happen on this project, but I didn't really miss much. Now I'm going over my pretty blue sign and distressing it as well with that ivory chalk paint and a chunky brush, all working in one direction and just wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. Now I got these little letters at Walmart, but they're just too big, and I thought they would be perfect for this project, and I'm like, too big. What if they look on the top? Too big. So I went in my Halloween stash to see if I had like a smaller boo, and I do. It's the same one I used on the other sign, but since it's a different color on this one, you can't really tell that it's the same, and I've got a bunch of them, so I might as well use them. So I just go over that boo in my ivory chalk paint, and just using a little skewer to get any little drips in between the letters. Because it's going to go on that bright blue sign. I want it to look nice. And then I'm going over that and distressing it all in one direction with that Antique Wax by Waverly. And I really like how that turned out. I think it turned out pretty cool. Just using my brown paint pen to draw on some eyes. Just some eyes only on this ghost. And then I'm kind of putting that together how I'm going to like it on that sign. Trying to distress the eyes a little bit. That paint pen was bleeding a little bit because I don't think I let it dry too well. But I do go back and kind of paint over those eyes with some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I think you do miss that when my camera did shut off. So I'm still learning how to use it. I might have to, I don't know, set a timer for 30 minutes or just go ahead and input that video into my computer. I'm not sure. I'm watching YouTube videos like crazy trying to figure out how to use my new Canon camera. But I really love making these YouTube videos for you, and so I thought I would invest in my channel and get some better equipment. So I attached both of those to our sign with just hot glue, and then I am just distressing them back and forth with the ivory and the Antique Wax until I get it exactly the way I like it. And you'll see that I painted the eyes with that Antique Wax with just a tiny brush. I kind of liked that effect better. And then I was going through my seashell stash and finding some seashells that were like the ivory and the brown colors. And I picked out 6 of my favorites. And I'm just going to attach those down the side of my sign with just hot glue. And I think that gives such a beachy feel to the sign. So much fun. All different kinds of shells that I have found at the beach. When I tell you I have lots of seashells, I have lots of seashells. Okay, final reveal time. This is our little coastal ghost wrapped in rope. He's a beautiful size, and I think he turned out so fun. There's his little ghost tail. And I'm really glad I put him together the way I did. I think he looks really good wrapped like that. And I love his little shells for his eyes and his mouth. And here's our little cheesecloth ghost with the rope border. He's trying to look all creepy there. There's his face. And this is my new camera as well, so I'm trying to learn how to focus this. And he looks super cute on this table over here. Here is our little sand ghost with the seashell face and the bright blue boo sign. A little bit of sand fell off along the edges, but I think it actually kind of adds to the little sand ghost, and that way you can tell that he is actually made out of sand. Look how cute his face is. I think he's so fun, and my son said that there's actually a sand ghost on Pokemon, so that is really cool, Mom. And here is the ghost rug that I made. I'm so impressed with how this turned out. It is so cute. Look at that. Isn't it adorable? It is white, so it's going to be hard to keep clean, but it'll be good until Halloween for sure. What do you think about him? It's so much fun. I'm so glad I kind of went outside my comfort zone and to try to make him. And here is our fifth and final coastal ghost project for you today with this fun boo sign, remaking a sign from the Dollar Tree and adding all my coastal touches. Look at all of those seashells. And I think it turned out really fun. I love that bright blue, turquoise blue. It reminds me of the ocean. Okay, guys, what was your favorite project today? Please post below, and don't forget to hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, have fun decorating for Halloween. Bye.